Oh.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, Ribbit.
Welcome, everyone, to the Frogland Town Hall. Thank you all for hopping in or hopping in later as you're watching this on replay. This is the monthly public retrospective for Good Ribbit Productions, the company behind the Notorious Frogs of Frogland. So we are here today and every month to review our progress, discuss the past month of development, and touch on some of the planning for the upcoming months. In this meeting, we'll take a look at the project as a whole, discuss any challenges we've encountered, and identify areas for improvement. We'll also be discussing our plans for the future of the project, brainstorming new ideas with our community, and building upon our successes. So thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts and feedback. And so I'm going to kind of do a high-level overview for anyone who may be new to the project, maybe is wants a little bit of a refresher or to kind of get the TLDR. So over the past about 1.5 years, we've achieved significant progress forward with our community and with our metaverse project. And as a refresher, in August of 2001, we released the 10,000 NFTs in the Notorious Frogs of Frogland, the mischievous humanoid frog characters or avatars for the metaverse of New Pangea. So alongside some of the greats from Sony's flagship London team and under their new company name called Dream Reality Interactive, or DRI, we developed a thick client, high-fidelity demo full of community-generated content as a proof of concept or vertical slice of our world. The Dragonfly Social Club was released to our holders in December of 2021 after only 90 days of wicked fast dev, and now acts as a shared, persistent social space and test environment. The Dragonfly has also since had several updates, including the Web3 wallet login, QR code login for guests, NFT loading, and more. So further, each Notorious Frog needed a home or a lily pad, a plot of land in Frogland. So as thanks to our community, in mid-summer of 2022, we delivered a free claim of 10,000 land synthesis devices, in addition to the sale of 2,500 more to onboard new members. Each land synthesis device represents ownership of a plot of land in one of the 7 biomes in Frogland, which we constructed as 7 different WebGL environments for our users to have as their own private instances, their own home base in Frogland. We also produced a pilot episode of a short-format serial drama, sourcing the characters, story, audio, vocal talent, music, art, and production as another proof of concept for co-creation. Additionally, we're very near release for the first of many, many games in Frogland, an infinite runner with the code name of Crossy Toad, which we'll be talking about more today. Along the way, we've developed a code and a software infrastructure to support an off-chain game economy, including resource tokens, land ownership, questing, puzzles, craftable items, and more, and created opportunities for community members to learn new skills, improve, participate, and contribute to the ongoing development process. With our community, we have a rich and compelling world filled with quests, puzzles, lore, discovery, and most importantly, fun. By utilizing blockchain technology to create a persistent user state across Discord, Mac, PC, and web browser, with more game states to come, we are producing content in a truly decentralized manner, elevating and empowering artists and creators, providing access and opportunities to all who hop in the pond. And that was a mouthful.
Very well done.
Well, yeah, it's quite a few different things there that have been worked on over the last, well, I guess, what now, 1.5 years?
It's been 18 months, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's exciting and fun, actually, to think about the fact that we've been working together now as individuals for over 2 years, actually. Time flies.
It's been a while. Quite a ride.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that being said, I'd love to know, Lottie, could you give us a little bit of a talk through from your perspective the development journey that Crossy Toad has been under, touch on a few of the items that you found most interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say I'll give the high-level points, and hopefully Don Love can help me fill in some of the more technical details.
Feel free to prompt me.
So over the past month, we've been getting a lot of the more complicated bits kind of lined up through Crossy Toad. I think we had teased out a couple screenshots very early in January, I think, where we had gotten the wallet connect and everything all set up. So when you go to log in on the website, you can choose your frog, you can pick the avatar, and pick the frog representation that you'll be playing as in Crossy Toad. And so that's obviously a whole lot of connectivity and code base that has to be structured to be able to talk between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. It's like, it's not just wallet connect to a website. Like, that's not so difficult to do, but actually then like passing that context of logged in, like down to this WebGL build thing that's running in the browser, and from that, it's like passing in that user information, but also then the game, the WebGL build, being aware of what NFTs you have, etc. And so there's the Wallet Connect for the website, but there's also then Wallet Connect stuff that we have, which you mentioned, that's been introduced to the Dragonfly Social Club, which is that thick client, that higher fidelity game space. But now the Wallet Connect for actually the web gaming type environments in WebGL, like we're using with Crossy Toad. So, and these things all, they're all slightly different and need to kind of smoothly work together. Sorry, continue, Andy.
No, all good, all good. That's it's kind of easy, I think, for people like me who don't have all the coding and technical experience to think of it and be like, well, I mean, I can log in, I can just go and connect my wallet to like all these other sites. Like, what actually goes into the building of that and connecting not only just like different websites, but different entire platforms and code bases. And it is more work than one might think. And I think it's just important to give credit to that too as well.
And once done well, it's so good. I wish I could log into everything with a wallet in some shape or form, because it is so much easier than trying to remember my Steam login, like my Steam username and my Steam password. They're two things I need to get Steam to remind me of. That's two separate emails and two separate processes I need to go through just to get access to an account I may want to use. And then you multiply that by, right, I've got my Epic Games Store, I've got my Steam account, I've got Good Old Games, I've got umpteen different platforms, and all of them have different usernames and passwords and different email accounts, and it's just an absolute nightmare. But when you do have a game, and if you haven't tried again recently, the Dragonfly Social Club, now that you can log in with a QR code effectively with MetaMask on your phone, it is just such an easy process, because even before, I'd forgotten my username and password for Frogland several times. So now to be able to completely bypass that, and just knowing, right, I've got it on my phone at any given moment in time, I can just hop straight in. It's awesome. I look forward to a game space, and in fact an internet where everything is just operated by wallet login at some point in time.
And so we got that in. Andy, did you want to, or were you speaking to then also why we brought that into Crossy Toad, or and we haven't actually decided that that's the final name. It might end up changing, but it's kind of, I guess,
Crossy Toad.
Yeah, it's been kicked around enough that even if it ends up being called something different, Crossy Toad might just stick. But sorry, yeah. So we did the Wallet Connect stuff. Did you want to talk about why? Did you want me to talk about why?
Yeah, no, I mean, you'll give a better recap of it, I suspect. So go for it.
Well, so there's also been a bunch of work on essentially selecting what frog you want to play with based on the frogs in your wallet. So that's all the stuff to be able to see what NFTs you have. So when we can read the metadata and see, which frogs you have, and you'll be able to select one. And then based on that in the game, you have, the skin and eyes of the frog you're playing with. And these are, have we released much about the kind of timeline, the narrative stuff where Crossy Toad is placed?
I don't think so. No, that would be a good thing.
Should I shut my mouth or?
No, you should keep
Okay.
going.
So yeah, a lot of this has to do with the journey of the frogs into Frogland, into the metaverse, and so these are somewhat remedial frogs. They're not quite as anthropomorphic as we are familiar with them now, and so they are on all fours, hopping around, and so they don't have necessarily all the hats and jackets and such that we're familiar with our frogs having, but based on the frogs you have, using their skin and their eyes, like that's represented on the frog avatar you'll be playing Crossy Toad with. So you can select those and then go through the game. So that's one reason for all the Wallet Connect stuff there. One of the others is obviously for things like we have to have a logged in user if we want to track people's scores for leaderboards, for high scores, and any kind of rewards type stuff that people might want. We need to know who played and who got really far in the game.
For sure. And I think that's important too, because it's not only just the leaderboards for the game points, right? But it's also going to be tied into a different kind of leaderboard, or an economy leaderboard, if you will.
So what else did we want to go into?
Sorry,
I've lost my place.
No, you're good. You're good. I think I might have been skipping ahead on that one. And so as we were creating the Wallet Connect and not only getting all the skins ready for the avatars, like Dunlove was saying, we also were building out different levels to the game environments, and being able to kind of have those levels have enemies and different assets and different animations present depending on if you're killed by a certain type of alien machine, or if you get dropped down when the floor fouls out from underneath you, or any number of the interesting and creative ways that bugs and shrimp have figured out to kill frogs. It's there's been a lot of work that's gone into making sure that everything is relevant to not only the storyline, but also entertaining, and not just kind of not just something you've seen before. And I think that's a really good way to keep the story going and keep creating those tie-ins to the lore and to the community and to what everyone's been working on there, which I think is super cool. I think that's important.
Yeah, Bugs and Shrimp have been doing some really cool work on the death animations and stuff. Exactly. When you die from falling through something, getting chopped by something, getting shot by something, all of that kind of looks a bit different.
I like the infected. I think that may be my favorite one so far. There's definitely some good ones.
I've not seen that one yet, but I can only imagine.
Awesome.
All right. So some of the other parts I think that is important to kind of note is that not only when we're building this and getting all this connected on the backside, it's not only the connection for reading the wallet and being able to tell what metadata your frogs have or your LSDs have, but it's also being able to kind of close that loop and connect everything to Discord as well. Because obviously right now we have our in Discord game economy with frog dollar balances and the leaderboards of balances that you have in the Discord, but also your item inventory and the ways in which that you can interact with the Discord bots, with either for gameplay or for buying items that you can use and then potentially will have effects within the game world, whether those are power-ups or consumable items that you can use to kind of boost where your score is, or the capabilities, or how many lanes you can get past to get that high score up, which I think is a a really interesting mechanic, not having that just live in the web browser game state. Like, I think that's going to be really fascinating.
Yeah, right. So Matt did some really cool work on essentially building out our Discord bot, like the framework for that on our backend, so that we can kind of take ownership of that. Because um, before we've been using, well, Andy, you'd know better. Mostly you've been configuring and using a bunch of third-party. Kind of different bot applications that we've used to get different functionality, but they don't always necessarily work together nicely, right? um, and don't all do the things you want, and they might bug out. But so we're kind of bringing that all into our own framework, transitioning that over, um, and kind of using some of those APIs, driving it into our backend, so doing that whole um, kind of conversion from those, taking control of that, which gives us more flexibility, reliability, configurability, um, and making it so that the game, the WebGL like framework that we have, and that we've tweaked and made for the game, that we can reuse for future games, can speak back into that, into our backend, propagate that through the Discord bot, um, so that we can mature and tweak those things that exist and make it more seamless between all these different parts of our ecosystem.
And that's
Um,
okay.
mhm. Oh, yeah. I was just going to say on stages and levels and stuff like that as well. But please go ahead.
Well, yeah, that's exactly where I was going with it. So off you go.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I think we've mentioned in the last town hall that we'd moved away from the first levels being the biomes. And that's something we're going to mature and revisit for like later releases, and moved towards an initial stage. Have we told? I think we've shown and told people the setting, right?
I think maybe just very very briefly, or in kind of a smaller environment. So I think that I think giving them a little bit more context and what they're going to be seeing, I think, is the right call.
Okay, yeah. So I guess you're kind of starting off in this uh, spaceship type UFO environment, very high tech, and it doesn't really reflect any of the biomes, because it's kind of escaping from abduction, trying to escape into the metaverse, and then kind of the other biomes will come later as places you've escaped to and are trying to continue to run away and get free. And so like that came from a few places, both us working on the game narratively. A lot of credit to Shrimp and Bugs there specifically, as well as Splat, as well. And also kind of, that was when we were looking initially at the biome levels. So reusing a lot of the assets from the WebGL biome experiences that we have, and there's a lot of good there, but also, to reuse some of those assets, there's also a lot of, shaping and other things there, things to learn. And it was kind of going, okay, that's a really good place to go, but perhaps we focus in on one that's a blank canvas to start, and then see how we can, work those next ones in with those biomes, as we progress from that UFO into the Frogland metaverse. In this early history of the birth of the frogs.
And I think that's something really kind of key to restate a time or two, probably before we get to actual launch, is that we're essentially picking up this storyline right where the original video that we made first, way back when, where we are sucked into the metaverse through the VR goggles next to the dead alien. And so essentially we're kind of picking that right up where we're as frogs, we are on the spaceship and we're trying to figure out how the hell we got here and how the hell we get back off. And should you succeed, then you end up in one of the biomes. I think I don't know if I'm allowed to say more than that at this point.
Otherwise, perhaps on the operating table.
Very very unfortunate end.
With some uncomfortable probes.
That's how you know it's not actually a Notorious frog and it didn't make it off the spaceship.
Exactly. Then it's just an unfortunate frog.
An unfortunate, boring, normal frog. So being able to kind of have that very unified, persistent state between your Discord inventory, your item inventory, your Discord balance, and the frog dollars or gold bars or gold coins that you're collecting as you play through the game, and being able to have that update. And it's not going to, I believe we said we think that's going to be not necessarily very, very first update, right, Don Love? But that'll probably be
soon.
Within
an update or two of launch of the pre-alpha launch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed a little bit of context there. I was reading a note.
Oh, you're okay. Yeah, it was the weird, which I guess we've maybe not said when we're planning on launching, have we yet?
Go ahead, Snoop.
I was going to say not an exact date. We have, of course, mentioned that what we are going to be rolling out is, if you will, a pre-alpha to our frog holders. So effectively, what we would like to do is really embracing the essence of co-creation here. Rather than, again, us building a game that we hope you will like, we realized we found the premise of what we feel is a correct game, and we're quite happy to see others in the space have also realized an Infinite Run is a great mini game to start with. And now with that, we really want to lean on our community to start getting feedback and input on what we can do to make this game better than what it is already. Because it's fun, but at this point in time, we want more community co-creation inside the level, be that a potential 3D asset, a 3D model of something that you may collect as a boost, or perhaps some narrative change, or something that we've really been speaking out from day one with Frogland, which is working with our community to build a product that ultimately the wider audience is going to be playing. So the Crossy Toad, the Project Crossy Toad, the final name we haven't really decided on yet, again, something that we'd love to hear from the community about. Once that gets pushed out to a wider audience, that is going to be a very different product of what you are all going to be getting access to and going to be testing with us. Because there's a good chance it's going to break. There's a good chance there are going to be bugs and there are going to be issues and there are going to be things that we may have not quite noticed. And we're going to look to you as our community to help us co-develop this, if you will, to the point where you can come up with ideas and concepts of ways we can make this experience more enjoyable, more playable. Because ultimately, after this pre-alpha phase, it goes back to development to some extent, and then pushing this out not only onto a WebGL experience on our website, but also onto mobile devices. And just to reiterate on what Lolly was saying, and I really don't want to sort of get too many hopes up because it's not going to be there for launch. Realistically, it will probably be an update or two shortly after the game comes out. But this being a new way for you to earn frog dollars, I think is fucking awesome. For those people who are familiar, you can play games like chicken fighting and roulette and blackjack inside the Discord, and you can earn some frog dollars that you can then use to purchase items in an inventory. Now, to be able to bring all of those items, that frog dollar balance out of Discord into other applications, that means you can just whip your phone out at any given moment in time and just play a little mini game and earn more frog dollars that ultimately is going to be used in the wider Frogland ecosystem.
So Snoop Frog, you're saying we'll be able to earn frog dollars in the game?
There will be yet another way for you to earn frog dollars. As we mentioned, the idea of a metaverse needs to exist beyond just one platform and one device. This infrastructure, this back-end technology we've been talking about for so long is new, it's novel, because ultimately I've not seen a game that you could play that updates any kind of balance inside a Discord economy with a community. This, I think, is interesting and definitely the direction that this sort of Web3 space should be going down. And so for us, while we still flesh out an economy, which is obviously not on chain, we have frog dollars inside our Discord that can be earned a number of different ways. Which again, if you want to know how, hop into the Discord, and there'll be a number of frogs that can sort of show you the ropes. But that is all Discord based. To be able to bring this out and actually have 3D environments that still allow you to interact and score on the same leaderboards and have those same balances and have that same level of competition. We see it as a sticky part of the metaverse. So that being said, I'm rambling. I'll pass back over to Lolly because I think do you have a little bit more you wanted to go through on the blockchain side? Otherwise, I think Don Love will probably talk about the process of how the sort of content is put together.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty close to everything that I wanted to hit on kind of the past month. So now we can start talking about everything moving forward and where we're going from here.
Okay, so in all of that, we actually managed to forget to say what our time frame for release is for this pre-alpha. So for pre-alpha, we are trying to hit before ETH Denver, which is in a couple of weeks. 2 weeks, yeah. A couple too. So that's our target. Of course, as with any tech, like that's not a guarantee. But we've been thinking a lot about how do we get this right balance between getting people access to like complete experiences and wanting to show people what we're up to and giving them access to things as they go along, which is kind of required for the co-creation, that whole co-creation loop. And so something there, can I jump into the staging site? Okay, so we've essentially taken the decision that we're going to token gate and expose our staging environment to the community. So, we have another website where we have all of these things that as we make small iterative changes in the code, it gets pushed up automatically, etc. And then like when we feel we have a complete feature set update and it's stable, we push that out to frogland.io. And we're going to start getting people access to the area where we're developing, so they can see and experience changes as we make them. And so that allows us to communicate to people things that are unfinished, but that we also want feedback on. Okay, so the staging site, you can expect things sometimes to break. You can expect things to be sometimes unfinished, and it's all been like, how do we get that communication down well? Because we don't want to release something and have it be like, oh, but this is an early example, and have some people not understand that and have it cause FUD or things like that. And so releasing things to frogland.io, that sometimes has taken longer because of this, like that tension. And so we came to the conclusion that this would be a good way to do it, of getting people early access, but having it be our direct community who understand that context. And that things that go out to frogland.io are more polished, more complete. In fact, you've all seen a video of our WebGL biomes, and we've had them for quite a while. And so releasing those, has been a challenge for exactly that reason. Is it's kind of a tech and art demo for a web-based environment. And as the initial thing, it's not heavily gamified yet, those environments, etc. And it was kind of like, how do we release that and have it not be this kind of 5 minutes of, oh, cool, and then what do I do with it, kind of thing. But at the same time, there's people who are aware of this and going, I want to check it out and play with it. What do I do? And we kind of don't want other people who are on the periphery to see this and go, oh, but this isn't a complete thing. And so this strategy, we think, is going to be a good way to address that, to take things like that, get it out to people faster, so that even if certain things aren't complete, people can play with it, give us feedback, and have it not be misunderstood in context by somebody who's not as integrated into our community, for instance. And so that's going to be a lot of fun, and that's where we're going to release Crossy Toad first, is the staging environment. We'll give you the URL for that when we're ready, so soon, TM. And there, I mean, literally, as the GitHub has changes in the game, like new features get merged into the develop branch, it pushes it out automatically, and that creates a new build, and that becomes automatically available on the staging site. That's already the experience. So like, as we make tweaks, those tweaks go out live, and that's what you guys will be getting access to. As mentioned, that also means sometimes it'll break, and that'll also give us a good vehicle for giving access to the WebGL biomes, so that people can play around with those. But like, those are only going to be on Frogland.io as we kind of have squared that circle, created that flywheel, that feedback loop effect, for what do people want to do in those biomes other than just visiting them, and and what keeps them coming back, and kind of stuff like that. So
and that's a really good thing. Yeah, that's a really good thing to kind of point out and to kind of bring back to the focus as well, because the previous game, or the previous loop that happens between content creators and content consumers, or players or gamers, or whatever you want to call them, for whatever media it is that is being created and consumed, the loop on those things are usually very long, right? Like, you usually have like a story that goes out, whether it's a book that's written, or a movie pitch deck that goes out and goes around, and then like, it's going to take a few years to develop that before you are able to get it out to like the wider audience and the mass amount of people, and have them either confirm that you were right and you guys, all of you investors, are right and everyone thought it was great and it was great, or maybe not and it's a total flop and you guys just wasted millions of dollars on nothing, basically. And so being able to run that loop back and forth between ourselves and DRI, and kind of having that smaller loop, that internal loop of, we're going to build this, it needs to look like this, it needs to start like this, it needs to interact like this, kind of widening that circle out more, bringing community members in, getting them involved with the building of assets, understanding how the code and the technical base works, and having ownership and control over all of our technical stack, whether that's the game assets and environments, whether that's the code base from the connection of the Discord to website and PC and mobile and all of those things, or whether it's as simple as like the narrative and the story and the lore and like the look and feel of everything, and being able to start that process of keeping that loop very small and very fast, and then kind of widening it and keeping that speed, and kind of letting it turn into something that's got its own momentum and is going to be able to kind of keep spinning, keep going the same way that it would with the random number generator nodes that Froggy Digital was talking about last time, that I cannot recreate the story on, but being able to shorten that feedback loop between people who want to consume or contribute to the media and the people who are creating it, whether that's you, whether that's me, whether that's community members, but being able to have that that process go much faster
Right.
is something we're really excited about. And
Yeah, I mean, exactly. There's a lot of process for how do we want to support and enable that co-creation more in terms of how do we uh, expose the things we're working on in a productive way to get feedback on and have that, be things that we can get in a productive, usable way. Because just, like putting some stuff out on Twitter or just pushing an update to the website and then having a deluge of, comments and stuff, it's actually, hard to get process that, sort through things, get an idea of your popularity, and actually get the signal from that feedback, filter that out from the noise. And so, co-creation is not just, there's a lot of thought and process that's going into how to actually create that right channel for that feedback, for that co-creation, to make it a productive and possible thing.
exactly. Because it can be, I mean, with so many people involved, with so many people in the writer's room or the development room or whatever it is, there's always a danger of things kind of falling apart and there being like too many cooks in the kitchen. And that idea and that fear has been what has led to like the black box worlds of Hollywood and the fear and like the concern about making sure that you patent everything before you talk about it and before you release it
Right.
into the world. And
And it
obviously
kind of,
decentralized means disorganized as well. And so being able to keep things on a small enough scale so we can build the processes out so that way they can support that type of chaos and not just disintegrate under its weight is something that's going to be really important and something that's going to enable us to grow and scale and make this thing much more long term.
Sorry for interrupting there. Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, and I kind of get that. I mean, in terms of if there's not the right processes in place and there's just a bunch of noise, I can understand the like instinct to go like too much noise, too much noise. I'm gonna put my headphones on, ignore it, and just get back to work and like can't deal with this. So it's like how to actually take that energy and channel it in. In the right way that it can, support us and uplift us all.
Exactly.
So we mentioned ETH Denver. For anybody who doesn't know, anybody want to kind of tell people what ETH Denver is about? Some of us are going there, I believe.
Yes. Yes. So Froggy Digital and I for sure will be going, and I think Snoop is considering it. I believe.
Okay. I'm going to see if we can make it out. It's going to be a long shot if I can, but fingers crossed.
Yeah. So, and I think Shrimp is also considering it, depending on how his tadpole's doing. But yeah, we're going to be gathering in ETH Denver, hopefully at that point with our V1 launch of Crossy Toad, and being able to. So ETH Denver is going to be more similar to DevCon in Bogota earlier or late last year, rather. It's definitely much more of a crypto and builder conference. Like while we were at DevCon, I believe we were the only NFT project there, as opposed to things like NFT NYC and NFT LA, which are way more NFT focused and a little bit more on like the art side of things as well.
So yeah, I understand ETH Denver to be like a bit of a mix, right? There's will be quite a few projects and creators there, and quite a few like devs, like mathematicians, cryptographers, right?
Yeah, I think that was my impression from what Froggy Digital was telling me, is that it's a much more of a balanced mix from DevCon, which tends to be very code heavy and very math based, as opposed to the NFT, which is totally opposite side of the spectrum and tends to be a little bit more art based. So I think this will be a really good mix of those two sides of it, and it's shaping up to be even bigger than DevCon, which apparently DevCon was already quite large. And so I think it's going to be a really good chance for us to kind of get out there and talk more about what we've been building and be able to show off the games and everything that we've done. And I think it's going to be a good time for us.
Yeah, I got to say it's going to be a good. I mean, all of these crypto conferences are good, especially when you don't have to cut through the noise of a million one other projects, and you have people who are already onboarded into the crypto space, who are probably gamers in some shape or form anyway. And when they peer under the hood and they see the kind of tech that we're messing with here, I think it's the right audience to be targeting. Certainly an untapped one as well. So good thing we're having a nice little pump at the moment as well with ETH, because I think everyone's in a slightly better mood than they were a few weeks ago.
Oh, conferences, not financial advice, but conferences tend to be bad times for crypto. People go to the conference and everything dumps when they're not near their hardware wallet or not near their computer. I don't know if it's the whales know that like a lot of other bag holders are out and drunk and not looking at the charts for once.
Could be.
Trying to abuse that, or if maybe this is just selection bias on my part, remembering the times that has happened and forgetting the times it hasn't. But
yeah, amusing, good times. All right. Well, that being said, one thing we've spoken about a few times over the past few town halls was the idea of putting together an introductory deck that we can start running with the community to perfect to the point where we would be happy sharing it with strategic potential VCs. So we've been finding a few candidates, a few potentially interesting candidates, to the point where we feel it may be worth our while spending a little more time getting this ready. Now, there is a gargantuan amount of paperwork that does need to get sorted out behind the scenes to prepare for any kind of a fundraise. But first and foremost, the idea of getting the pitch deck put together, I think, is quite important. So with that in mind, I'd love to have a quick run through what we have so far in terms of an introduction. I suggest we will open this up to the community to be able to comment on, so that if people did want to add any feedback or input, we'd love to hear anything that they'd like to add. But I'm going to load it up on my screen at the same time as well.
Okay. I just wanted to check. I forgot to give people an update on DRI. Should I do that first? Should I leave it alone? Should I do it at the end?
I'd say, yeah, leave it at the end, unless maybe next town hall.
Go for it. Yeah, exactly. Cool. Sure.
Lovely. So first and foremost, again, a lovely brand design by John Contino, the gentleman that did that wonderful work for Bulwark Empire. We felt he was the right individual to really nail the art style for us. That being said, with all decks, you want to immediately catch attention. And I think when you take a high-level view of the Notorious Frog collection, we do have those eye-catching stats. Of course, selling 10,000 Notorious Frog NFTs back in September of 21 went down very well, raising 800 ETH, which was a tidy sum for a company to do, for instance, an angel round. Looking at the analytics of the collection, we can see that 98% of the community have not listed on the secondary market. I think as of maybe half an hour ago, there's only about 196 frogs that have been listed, which I think is a spectacular number when you consider we haven't put into any sort of staking mechanics to incentivize you to not list. This is really based on the belief of what we're building. And so we thank you eternally for that. There are 2,600 of us. Sorry, go for it, Donald.
Oh, I was just saying, right. I think we tried to, and I think achieved well to attract people who were interested in NFTs and crypto for the long haul. I think we've managed to do a really good job of attracting a lot of well-intentioned people in the space, rather than pure degens at any cost, or like pure flippers. Like, of course there've been some of those along the way who've entered, etc. But we have a lot of people who, even some of those in those numbers who haven't like stopped into the Discord for months, people who are like, oh yeah, I almost forgot I held this and it's really cool. Yeah, I heard about you guys, or I met you guys before and I bought it, and I'm keen to see what you're doing. I'm in for the long haul. Do your thing, and so we have a lot of really well-intentioned long-term view supporters, which I'm really happy about.
And I mean, every single one of them is just top class as well. I can never get over how amazing every single person in this community is, and just always makes my heart happy.
Yeah, I mean, there's very much two ways of experiencing Frogland. Someone mentioned this in the Discord earlier on today. There's the sort of hands-on and not as many surprises because you're in the trenches with us building and developing and seeing firsthand what's coming out. And then there's the slightly more hands-off approach where you get the surprise of every now and again you may check in and then you will see how much has been developed and what's been released. So I think there's two very different approaches for depending on the type of user you are. The flippers, I mean, there's always a space, but I personally look at this, and the reason I bought sort of 100 plus frogs and have held and have not sold a single one is because this is a long-term project. This is something that I'm in for the long run, and I want to see sort of grow, and I believe enough in what we're trying to do that I have enough conviction to keep loading up. And in fact, I bought a nice gold coat frog, I think, yesterday, because I couldn't help myself. He was on the floor. And snapped him up as quick as I could. But yeah, so we do have a great community, great holders. And we've had over 2,500 ETH in secondary market sales volume, which is really, really good. It's not something to sort of bat an eye at. Now, in terms of deliverables, we have, as everyone already knows, delivered a vertical slice already for the community back last December. The mini game development, we have a number of different mini games in the pipeline. First of which is, of course, Crossy Toad, which has taken admittedly most likely the longest because we needed to build in the tools that needed to be showcased in the product. More on that in a moment. And of course, the tools I just spoke about. So that at a high level is sort of the collection at large. Of course, there's a lot more, as you all know. There's a Toadex amount of information beyond this. But that being said, if we could move down to the founding team, a quick reminder on the team that has sort of founded and set Frogland up from day one. We have three of those founders here, as you can see, all doxed. I know we don't have a huge amount of time, so I'm not going to gloss over everyone, but the document will be made available for you to comment on and add your 2 cents. Moving on, we also have our world builders. We have the team at DRI. We have the assistance of some fantastic people who are well known in the space. Bill as well, a tremendous Bill, a game industry veteran I've worked with for a number of years, and just an all-round awesome dude. So yes, once you've sort of detailed the team and you've detailed the high-level view, we really need to talk about the problem and the solution here. And so if you could hop down to one more slide, thank you. So in essence, trying to boil Frogland down into as few words as possible is always a tricky thing to do. So this is an attempt, and this is an ever-evolving attempt, and most likely will change depending on who's going to be reading it. That being said, at a first attempt, we really want to get a general feedback on where your mind's at. So effectively, we are a Web3 production studio building a digital playground for content creators. And by doing that, we're developing the tools and infrastructure needed, and we're showing that in the product that is Frogland. So this is sort of detailing flat out our purpose for being. Now, the real issue today is that there are no real standards that are defined for the metaverse. At the moment, everything is a walled garden in some shape or form. We have a lot of very cool separated experiences, but no way for them to communicate and become interoperable. So by developing Frogland itself, we're developing and discovering the tools that other developers are going to need to be able to build content that can become interoperable with our own and with everything else that's out there. Effectively making Web3 content more accessible. And our very notion of co-creation, our idea here is make content more enjoyable because we know what our target audience enjoys doing the most. And finally, moving down to the final slide of the sort of problem and solution. Our flagship product that we've spoken about a number of times is going to be available on multiple devices. So while the Dragonfly at the moment is a Windows and a Mac installation, Crossy Toad is going to be a browser-based and a mobile game. Discord is, of course, as you're already aware, on a multitude of different platforms, and all of these experiences tie in together with the same backend infrastructure. So all of this is a Web3 metaverse experience that can be experienced in a number of different ways. So this is kind of a high level why we are in this space and what we're setting out to achieve. Now,
so
go on.
Because I wanted to dig in a little deeper, if that's all right, on like one or two of those slides. So I mean, the idea there being really, and correct me or elaborate, that like there's this feedback loop between to build the product that we want, this experience of Frogland, we got to build the tools for ourselves that don't exist for like how to bring Web3 and gaming and these social experiences together. And in doing that, we actually get out this other product as well, which are those tools that are good at building these types of experiences. So it's kind of building these suite of tools to build the experience we want. And so there's the tech and the actual IP that are kind of going hand in hand, and each supports the other. The IP drives that what we need from tools, and developing the tools helps us deliver the IP, but also puts us in the situation of being able to hopefully support other such endeavors as well with said tools.
Precisely right. We are so far ahead of the curve. It is the Wild West, and the tools that we need to use simply don't exist. So for us to build the stuff that we really want to build, there's a lot of hurdles that need to be overcome, and a lot of custom software that needs to be created. And these tools, we know, because we're so far ahead, other people are going to run into exactly the same issues when they try to do the similar sort of thing that we've been doing. And as is the Web3 way, we need to open these tools up and let as many people use them as want to, so that we can have something that is more unified, something that is more reminiscent of a standard that people can design to. Because that is what's going to bring us closer to a true metaverse, which is what we all want to do at the end of the day. So yeah, I think that's a very, very good way of putting it.
So I wanted to add like just a little example, if I may, to kind of make it kind of concrete. So with the development of Crossy Toad, that like, yes, there is the game, the mini game that we are pushing out, but in that there's also development of like a mini game framework, which is opinionated in some places, not in others, but essentially how we think a mini game for a WebGL kind of target should be structured, and then if it conforms to that structure, how to make that then feed into our kind of back end for propagating that data out to Discord and things like that. So it's one of those things where there's a whole bunch of extra work that needs to happen at first, for that first one to get that solid foundation for Crossy Toad. But that framework actually becomes something that we reuse in multiple other mini games, where there's the game still needs to be created, but it becomes easier to then have that wallet connect, leaderboards, integration to the economy, stuff like that in the future. And that's something that at a certain point will be well packaged enough that we can push out to other developers, to community members if they want to make mini games.
Yeah, very well said.
Cool. I'll just now go.
No, I was going to say, and this is the importance of tools, because again, it is so new that we just have to build and build and build. And so I think this is interesting because we've seen when we started this, we were very unique in what we were doing. Slightly less so now. That being said, I think we've forged ahead and we've made unique decisions that are showing in the work that we're building. And I think as time progresses, it is very, very likely that a lot of other metaverse experiences are going to try and walk in the footsteps that we're going down. And so for us to have tools available to license and to provide to other entities, I think is a very smart move for Frogland or for Good Ribbit Productions as a company, and certainly a great leg to stand on for any potential fundraising. That being said, Lolly, if you could please jump down to the next slide. A brief highlight on, of course, the Notorious Frogs. The IP itself has been developed. The utility for the NFTs is never ending. There is a number of things you can do with your frog and with your land. And of course, we have a number of different products underway, such as the mini games. Revenue models are being introduced to the very notion of what is the best way to monetize the metaverse. We have a few ideas that we want to begin running past the community. And of course, scalable production and distribution infrastructure, the very thing we've been talking about for so long now. If you could hop down to one more page, we give a quick glimpse into some of the mini games and experiences that is currently in development. So you can see firsthand the Dragonfly Social Club, of course, and some other snippets that you can dig into at some future moment in time. And there will be a lot more on these mini games after Crossy Toad. And to be... Say it again?
Cool. I said, "Ooh, I didn't know we were showing this off. That's cool." Yeah.
And to the next slide, if you wouldn't mind, please, Lolly.
Some high-value screenshots there.
There's some good old screenshots in there. And so again, just a quick highlight of some of the awesome people the team has had the luxury and pleasure of working with over the past decade in the technology and entertainment space. This is sort of really spanning both those sort of movies, video games, and pure technology in its finest form. And of course, very finally, a little outro just to show the slightly different approach that Frogland takes, which is perhaps unorthodox, but we feel the best and most organic way that we can keep building and keep getting the word out there to the communities and individuals that we feel will be best suited for Frogland. Of course, the Game Developers Conference is the largest conference every year targeting game developers, of which Lollyhops will have the awesome opportunity to give a panel on sort of game and content creation and Web3. And of course, the United Nations, another great opportunity we managed to present Frogland to the course of about a year or so ago now, talking about the future potential of what the metaverse can introduce. So that being said, this is a highlight of an intro deck. So we will make a version of this available, and I'll ask Lolly to push out perhaps an announcement with the link in for people to add their comments and 2 cents. Otherwise, I know we started a little late, and I know I'm looking at the time now. We're running up to an hour, so I don't want to be too far over. Do we have questions or anything from community that we may want to address while we're in our final few minutes?
Well, while we wait for that, I'll just say, so I mean, so the deck is obviously one small view into like obviously the documentation and stuff that we're preparing for the kind of process we'll need to go through with the right kind of partners, etc. And something you touched on the end there, Ed, is really important. Like the audience, and there's the difference between our current community and that audience, and working together with them and with creators, etc., to also reach a wider audience ultimately, because I think we all want to ultimately break out of just the crypto space in the long run to have gamers and creators from a whole bunch of different walks of life end up coming here, finding a flourishing, awesome experience and community, and finding a new home. And walking that journey there is really really important, in terms of developing this initial relationship with our community as it stands now, and both understanding these current needs and future needs, and how to bring in this wider audience and continue to have fun together.
Mm-hmm. I think that is so important, having fun together, because ultimately a metaverse is just a 3D communications platform where everyone's having fun.
It seems more and more similar to me, like a social media platform. The more we build, the more I'm like, this is just like the next iteration of social media.
Yeah, it's kind of like take some social media, smash it together with some gaming and some e-commerce, and it's kind of taking all these things, starting to make them in a similar space, and trying to remove some of the dark patterns and extractive nature of some of the current models, and trying to empower people to be more creators in that environment.
I really feel like everyone is a creator in some way. They might not think they are, because they've kind of been kind of set down in life into like blue collar work, artwork, whatever, and kind of segmented that way. But I think everyone has something that they want to build and they want to create and they want to have fun with. And I think this is going to be a really cool way to kind of help bring that into reality for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting few weeks. And I think we already gave a slight update. We're looking to get the Quasi-Toad ready before ETH Denver, and ETH Denver's in a couple of weeks. So that should give you all a good inkling as to when you may be able to have a little hop around Quasi-Toad yourself. So I think that is probably the best place to wrap the town hall up. And we want to thank you all again for joining us. And if you're not here live, then we hope you follow up on YouTube. And if you have any follow-up questions, then just shoot us a message in Discord, and we'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, wish you all a very good Ribbit.
Ribbit, everybody.
Ribbit, everyone.
Ribbit.